Welcome back. We're examining how Nigerians generally live in such extreme poverty when their country is so oil rich. Joining us from Los Angeles is Nigerian Nobel laureate Dr. Wole Soyinka, who has served time in jail for his outspoken activism for a fairer system. And from New York, we're joined by photojournalist and filmmaker Ed Kashi, whose latest book, Curse of the Black Gold, candidly depicts the tough life of the people living in the oil-rich Niger Delta. Now let's get back to our discussion with a question for Ed, actually. What was the most disturbing thing you saw, when you were doing your work over there in the Delta?
Well, I think what was hardest for me to see was the lack of development, the abject poverty that people lived in. Because one of the things about Nigerians is they're actually a very intelligent, resourceful, entrepreneurial people, and what was so difficult to see is how the people of that area are held down so dramatically, and I have to say the issue of MEND, the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta, and these kinds of groups that are starting to come up are a reaction to the killing of Ken Saro-Wiwa a decade ago and the continued lack of opportunity for these young men.
I want to get on to MEND in a second. Let's get a call on the line from London. Cornelius has been holding on. Go ahead, Cornelius.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you to Professor Wole Soyinka for all his efforts on human rights in Nigeria. And with regards to the issue of the Niger Delta people, I think the government should be held accountable for all the atrocities that has been committed in that region. I think we can blame the oil company for their lack of moral responsibility, but the government should do more to build the infrastructure. Because if we go to the Niger, there's no infrastructure there. But if you go to the capital city like Abuja, you see all the infrastructure there. Whereas the oil money is coming from the Niger Delta, and that's why the people are being given different name of terrorists. They are not actually terrorists.
Okay.
They are freedom fighters.
Let me, Cornelius, let me get this to Dr. Soyinka with an additional angle on this as well. Sir, I know that there's the issue of finding some sort of stability with the militant action that's been taking place in the region. And I know there was a committee that was organized to try to create some kind of talk, some kind of peace between the Nigerian government and the militants in the Delta region. And I know there was just the announcement of the resignation of the top UN official, Ibrahim Gambari. And you are advocating his resignation now. Is it because many people carry the baggage of past associations with the Nigerian government? Is it hard to find someone who can be what you would consider, or most would consider, a neutral moderator here?
You see, this is part of the problem which we have in Nigeria. Of all the human resources within Nigeria, within the African continent, in the world, why did the Nigerian government go and fasten on an individual with a history, an unacceptable history whose conduct went to the heart of the entire issue of the Delta region, as symbolized by Ken Saro-Wiwa and his 8 companions, who were hanged in such a brutal manner, in defiance of world opinion and in defiance of the most basic tenets of natural justice and proper procedure. And so you go and pick this individual. So you waste another month, 2 months, 3 months even, when you could easily have selected somebody else. Now, the MEND people, and I'm acquainted with a number of them. They come to see me, they write to me, they send me emails. I know they're spokespeople. I know young members of MEND, female, 18, 20. I know one of them who's even a poet and who's so charged with the entire injustice of generations. Now, these are the sort of people we're dealing with. They're not just criminals. Oh, of course, there are criminal elements. Any kind of liberation struggle, you'll have the criminal elements who'll kidnap for money, for ransom, purely vicious elements. But you're dealing with a very serious, intelligent organization. And then you go and pick somebody who has a history, and you expect that person to be accepted by these very oversensitized, even oversensitized people, sensitized by their history of injustice. It just shows the government is not really thinking, or else is thinking, but thinking in a very diabolical way that is not serious.
Ed Kashi, tell me about your time with MEND, the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta. You actually did have meetings. You were actually fairly active in trying to engage and find out more about what was going on with the militant side as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an incredibly important part of the story, and I was able to have brushes with them a few times. It's interesting because I was actually detained for 4 days illegally by the Nigerian military during one of my visits, and they said to me, well, we've done this to protect you from the militants, and all I was thinking was that I feel much safer with the militants than with the military. You know, MEND, I find them to be, as Dr. Shoenka has said, a very impassioned, intelligent group of men, and you know, in general, when I was with them, it was very restricted what I could do. You know, also when I'm in these situations as a photographer, I'm well aware that I'm being used for my subject's propaganda. But you know, this is how stories are told. This is how we get access to these kinds of groups. I'm hoping to go back and to spend more time with them, but I feel that it is important that they're dealt with in a more serious manner, and I feel that the government really isn't taking them seriously yet.
Well, Musa is on the line from Nigeria. Let's squeeze that in with a minute to go. Musa, go ahead.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Rich.
Hi, go ahead, please. Welcome.
I think, Doctor, can you please agree with me that apart from the government and the oil companies, I think partly the leaders from the Niger Delta region shares part of the blame, because considering the fact that 13% of the total revenue from the oil is allocated to the Niger Delta region for their development.
Listen, I'm going to do, Musa, I'm going to get that to Dr. Shoenka because we only have about 40 seconds left to go. So please go ahead, sir.
Yes, he's right also. You see, blame goes in very many directions. Some of the leaders of that region were actually traitors to their own people. They collaborated with the central government. They collaborated with the oil companies. Some of them took money from the oil companies, did not allow even the pittance they obtained to go around. So, yes, you're quite right. There's some guilt involved in that, but we're thinking of a far larger, quantitatively and qualitatively, larger area of guilt. And I've already expressed my opinion about that.
Well, Dr. Shoenka, Kashi, thank you very much for being with us, and I hope we get to talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. On the next show, a look at the fallout from India's parliamentary confidence vote and what it means for the future of the Indo-US nuclear deal. The grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, Arun Gandhi, joins us for that. From me and the team, see you next time.